You wake up to chaos online. Gervonta Davis has just done the unthinkable. A sparring video from 2015 between him and Lamont Roach hits the internet, and it's clear who posted it. Not a fan, not a trainer, but Davis himself. You scroll through the replies, and they're already calling it dirty tactics. Others? They're calling it genius. The clip is grainy but intense. You see a younger Roach getting outboxed, caught with a right hook that stumbles him near the ropes. Tank doesn't say a word in the post, but the caption does all the talking. This y'all king? It's subtle, but you know what this is. It's not just a throwback, it's a calculated shot fired days before their rematch. But here's where it gets messy. According to insiders close to the camp, Davis's contract with Roach includes a non-disparagement clause, one that prohibits either side from releasing any sparring footage during the fight promo period. And if that's true, Davis might have just blown up his own rematch privileges. You hear whispers from boxing forums. Is this a mind game or a meltdown? Roach's team reportedly didn't see it coming. In fact, one source claims the footage was never meant to leave the gym. That wasn't public, that was sparring. And it didn't even tell the full story, a former coach says. Back in DC, Roach's reaction is calm, but tight-lipped. He reposts the clip with one sentence: "See you in the ring." No emojis, no hashtags, just intent. And now fans are asking, why would Gervonta risk his rematch clause like this? Would you throw away a contract just to win the mental war? You're watching the sports anchors scramble. Legal analysts are being pulled onto live streams. And the central question on everyone's lips is this: did Gervonta Davis just breach the contract? What was supposed to be a clean promotional run for one of the biggest rematches in lightweight history has suddenly turned into a legal chess match. Behind the scenes, sources close to Roach's camp claim that the rematch clause had very clear boundaries, one of which explicitly banned the leaking of any pre-licensed training or sparring content involving either fighter. The reason? To preserve the integrity of the matchup, to make sure no one spun the narrative unfairly. And now, with one video, Tank may have shattered that foundation. You hear from a ringside promoter who says, there's a clause in there that protects both parties from defamation, especially if it impacts public perception or fighter reputation. If that clause holds weight in court or arbitration, Davis might find himself in breach, not just of ethics, but of binding terms. But here's the part that's even more shocking. The leaked sparring footage might have been edited. Observers noticed sharp cuts, missing sequences, and what looks like slowed-down playback in certain spots. Fans are already debating if the footage was cherry-picked to make Roach look weaker than he was. And that raises a dangerous question for both camps. Was this emotional or strategic sabotage? Meanwhile, Roach's legal team is reportedly reviewing all options. Some insiders say they're even considering using the leak as leverage to renegotiate terms, increase Roach's purse, or even seek damages. One fight attorney put it bluntly, this isn't just a clip, it's a lawsuit waiting to happen. And now the boxing world is divided. Would you cancel the rematch if your opponent played dirty before the fight even started? You're backstage now, away from the bright lights and media buzz, where whispers carry more weight than microphones. Lamont Roach sits silently, eyes fixed on his phone. The sparring video is playing on loop. It's from 2015, but it feels like it was filmed yesterday. The jabs, the slips, the glances toward the camera. But what bothers him most? The angle, cropped tight to show only his missed punches, only his exhausted posture, not the full rounds, not the flurries he landed, not the moments when he had Tank backing up. Roach's trainer leans in. This was never supposed to get out, he says, shaking his head. And if it did, it sure as hell wasn't supposed to be cut like that. The room is tense. Not because Roach is afraid of the footage, but because he knows what it's designed to do. Undermine him, paint him as the underdog again, steal momentum before the first bell rings. But what Davis may not realize is that Roach thrives in this position. Let them talk, he says. They're gonna see what happens when the lights come on. Meanwhile, online debates explode. Some fans accuse Davis of mental warfare, using psychological tactics to gain an edge. Others say it reeks of desperation. A few call it genius promotion. But tucked in between the noise are voices that raise a darker possibility. What if this leak was intentional sabotage, not just of the rematch, but of Roach's marketability. You hear one manager ask, if Roach gets embarrassed publicly like this before the fight, do networks start questioning his value, his draw? That's the real danger. A fight isn't just about fists, it's about reputation, about narrative. And Tank might be trying to rewrite both before the fight even begins. So now the question lingers in Roach's mind. If they're already this scared, what are they going to do when the bell actually rings? You said, you're back at the press table when a reporter finally asks the question everyone's been avoiding. Gervonta, did you leak that 2015 sparring video? The room tightens. Tank smirks, then shrugs. It's old work, he says into the mic. Just showing y'all what's always been there. But there's a glint in his eye, a flash of pride that betrays how calculated this move really was. And across the table, Roach doesn't blink. He leans forward slowly, gripping the mic with calm fury. If that's what you needed to feel confident, he says, you already lost. There's a low hum in the room now, the kind of tension that makes even the camera crews adjust their grip. This isn't just trash talk, it's a psychological chess match. Because if Tank truly did break the rematch clause by releasing that footage, he might have just put everything at risk. Not just the fight, not just his purse, but his credibility. You catch a whisper from one of the promotion lawyers off to the side. If that clause had a non-disclosure built in, this could be breach of contract. There could be penalties. Another exec chimes in. Depends on how they defined pre-fight material. If sparring footage is considered protected, Roach's camp could technically walk. It's chaos behind the scenes. Emails firing, phones ringing. Nobody wants this rematch to fall apart, but the legal lines are blurry, and Davis may have just danced over one. Online, fans are split again. Some say Roach should force the fight to continue, to prove himself. Others argue he should pull out and take legal action, sending a message that this sport still has rules. And now boxing purists are asking, did Gervonta just give Roach the out he needed, or the fire he was waiting for all along? You're scrolling through your phone that night when your timeline explodes. Roach's camp just posted a formal statement. It's crisp, sharp, and unmistakably hostile. Our team is currently reviewing the contractual terms surrounding the release of the 2015 sparring footage. Legal counsel has been engaged. That's it. No emojis, no hashtags, just smoke. And within minutes, boxing outlets light up. One headline reads, Roach considering pulling out of rematch after clause breach. Another, Tank's mind games might backfire. Suddenly, what was supposed to be the most anticipated rematch of the year has become a legal thriller. You're not the only one glued to the drama. Promoters are reportedly in crisis mode. According to one insider, Showtime already had millions lined up in ad inventory for the pay-per-view. If this falls apart, they lose more than just a fight, he says. They lose trust in both camps. And now, negotiations have allegedly reopened, with Roach's team demanding new terms, more money, and full public accountability. Back in the gym, Tank seems unbothered. He posts an Instagram story, just the words, I ain't worried, over a video of him shadowboxing in slow motion. But fans aren't convinced. Comments flood in. You scared or what? Why'd you leak the footage now? This ain't smart, champ. Meanwhile, Roach is nowhere to be seen. No posts, no statements, just silence. But sometimes silence is the loudest move. Because behind the scenes, word is spreading. Roach has already flown in a new sparring partner, a bruiser, a southpaw, someone built like Tank. You start to realize this rematch isn't just about skill anymore. It's about pride, ego, and the willingness to risk everything in public. And now fans are asking, if the fight still happens, will it be personal enough to turn gloves into weapons? You wake up to headlines. Tank responds. It's a new interview, raw and unfiltered. He's sitting in a Baltimore gym, towel draped over his neck, sweat still pouring down his face, but it's his eyes that grab you. They're locked in, cold, calculated. They mad about some footage? He scoffs. That was 2015. Ain't my fault the truth got hands. The interviewer pushes back. Didn't your contract have a confidentiality clause about past training sessions? Tank doesn't blink. Didn't say I couldn't remind him who'd been running this. It's a subtle dodge, but the damage is done. Social media explodes with split opinions. One side's calling it genius marketing. He's getting in Roach's head early. The other side sees it as sabotage. This could ruin the whole fight. But there's a third wave building, Roach's fan base, and they've got receipts. Clips of Roach's growth since 2015. his win streak, his ability to eat punches most fighters would fold under. One tweet goes viral: "You poked a sleeping dog. Now pray he doesn't bite harder." And suddenly, Roach breaks his silence. It's not a video. It's not an interview. It's a screenshot of a text. One sentence. "Let's make it worth the leak." Fans are stunned. It's cryptic, but the message is clear. He's showing up, not just to fight, but to punish. And as the hours pass, more footage leaks. Not from Tank, but from Roach's camp. Clips of heavy body shots, sparring drills with a southpaw pressure fighter, hooks landing like thunder. No music, no talking, just raw, punishing power. You feel it now. This isn't about belts anymore. It's about legacy, about revenge, about who really deserves to control the narrative. And fans are now asking, if Roach shows up with all this fury, will Tank still be the one calling the shots when the bell rings? You're ringside again, not for a fight, but for a storm that's been brewing all week. The contract dispute, the leaked sparring footage, the cryptic posts, and now, a press conference that feels more like a final warning shot than a media event. Tank walks in late, no entourage this time, just him, in all black, hoodie up, eyes locked forward. Roach is already there, arms crossed, still as stone. He doesn't even look over. The moderator barely finishes the welcome before Roach interrupts. "You don't honor contracts. You don't honor the sport. You think being famous makes you untouchable." The room goes still. Tank lifts the mic, slow, calm. "You didn't like what I posted? Then do something about it. Don't tweet, don't cry, just show up." The tension is suffocating. For the first time, it's not hype, it's hatred. You watch Roach's hands clench under the table. You catch a trainer motioning for calm. The crowd leans forward, unsure if they're witnessing a presser or a prelude to chaos. And then, Roach leans in, soft voice but razor-sharp tone. "Just remember, the ring has no edit button. That lands like a punch." Even Tank shifts in his seat. By the time it ends, security has stepped in, not to stop a fight, but to keep the peace. Neither fighter offers a handshake, neither looks back. The final image is silence. No cameras, just two men walking opposite directions, toward the same night. And now fans are asking, with all the legal smoke, broken contracts, and public jabs, is this still a boxing match? Or has it turned into something far more dangerous? Because when history, ego, and betrayal collide inside a ring, someone usually doesn't make it out the same. You don't just hear the tension, you feel it. The crowd is quiet, but the pressure between Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach is loud enough to rattle the arena walls. You're sitting just a few feet from the stage as they lock eyes. Two hometown legends with unfinished business. The rematch isn't just about belts or rankings anymore. It's personal. You catch Tank's jaw clench when Roach brings up the knee incident, the moment in their last fight that sparked endless debates. Fans said he took a knee. Judges didn't call it. Some called it a knockdown. Others called it cowardice. And Roach, he hasn't let it go. "You know what you did," he says into the mic, never breaking eye contact. The room stiffens. Tank doesn't flinch, but he doesn't smile either. He leans in, calm, calculated, and replies, "You had your shot, and you couldn't finish the job." That's when the first boos erupt. It's a hometown crowd split down the middle, DC loyalty versus Baltimore fire. Then Roach brings up the old sparring sessions, back when both were amateurs. "You were always fast," he says, "but you never had heart." That's when Davis finally rises from his seat. For a split second, you think he's going to cross the table. His team pulls him back. The tension is thick enough to slice through with a glove. There's no more posturing, no more mind games. Just two fighters who know each other too well and hate each other for it. And now fans are asking, if Roach nearly broke Tank last time, what happens when he walks in with nothing to lose? Would you bet against a man who's already tasted the champion's blood? You rewind the footage from their first fight again and again. That controversial 9th round. The moment Tank dropped to one knee and calmly retreated to his corner, it still doesn't sit right. No official knockdown was called, but fans, analysts, even former pros agree that wasn't just a pause, it was survival. You wonder if that moment shifted something in Lamont Roach. Before that, he was the underdog, respected, but never really feared. But when the so-called face of boxing took a knee in front of him, that changed the story. That changed everything. Lamont's training camp now looks different too. There's no flash, no viral clips of luxury cars or flexing with chains, just brutal rounds on the heavy bag, surgical sparring sessions, and a sharpened focus that only comes from a fighter who knows he was one round away from greatness. Meanwhile, Tank has gone quiet. No flashy trash talk, no Instagram live rants. His silence is louder than ever, and it's got people wondering if the pressure's finally getting to him. See, the first fight was supposed to be another walkthrough. Instead, it turned into a war. And now he's got to face the same man again. A man who's already had 12 rounds to study his every move. Lamont Roach isn't the same fighter anymore. He's smarter, meaner, hungrier. The public sees it too. This isn't just a rematch, it's a revenge tour. So now you ask yourself, what's scarier? The champion who's been there before, or the challenger who now believes he should have already won? You said. You can feel the energy shift the moment Roach steps to the mic. He's calm, measured, but that's what makes it so unnerving. You're expecting bravado, but he speaks like someone who knows he already survived the worst. There's no flinching when Tank leans in, no nervous twitch when the cameras flash. It's a man who's seen the inside of the storm and came out standing. The crowd watches closely, waiting for someone to crack, but Tank's not smiling either. There's a coldness in his stare, like he's trying to convince himself this won't go the distance. For all his flash and flair, this isn't a press tour. It's a war that's already halfway written. You think back to that 9th round, the knee, the towel, the face wipe, the backlash, the headlines, and suddenly, everything feels heavier. This isn't just about belts or records. This is personal now. Tank's team tries to deflect. He didn't lose, they say. It was a draw, but even Tank's own demeanor says otherwise. He doesn't like the way the last fight ended. He doesn't like that Roach is still standing, that he got cheers, not silence. Meanwhile, Roach just nods as if he's been here before, because he has. He's from the same streets. He knows the dogfight. He's not trying to out-talk Davis. He's trying to outlast him. And the fans are starting to choose sides, not based on highlight reels or stats, but off what they saw with their own eyes last time. And now people are wondering, is Gervonta trying to prove something in this rematch? Or is Roach the only one walking in without doubt? You catch the subtle shift in Tank's voice when the conversation turns to that knee. He dodges the topic, brushing it off like it meant nothing. But you can tell he's still pissed, not at Roach, not even at the ref, but at how the world twisted that moment into a weakness. The memes, the breakdowns, the critics screaming, That was a knockdown. It's been eating at him. He's not just fighting Lamont anymore. He's fighting every post that questioned his heart, every clip that froze him on one knee, every fan who said, "Tank don't got it like that no more." And yet, Roach isn't feeding the fire. He doesn't brag. He doesn't mock. He knows what he did that night, and so does Davis. That's what makes this fight dangerous. The silence between them says more than words. You can see it in Tank's eyes. He doesn't want to win. He wants to erase the doubt, erase the footage, erase Roach from the timeline completely. But that's not how boxing works. Roach has been sharpening his edge in silence. The latest training clips? Focused, tight movement, heavy bag combos with surgical precision. Fans can debate whether it's enough, but one thing is clear. Roach is evolving. You watch the split screen online, Tank draped in flash, Roach wrapped in focus. Two fighters, two paths, same destination. So now the room is split. Some say Tank is about to make a statement. Others say he's walking into a fighter who's already read his playbook. But here's the question nobody wants to answer. If Roach took Tank to the edge once, what's stopping him from finishing the job this time? If he doesn't dominate Roach this time, the questions will never stop. And that's the real fight. Not the one under the lights, the one in his head, the whispers, the headlines, the shadow of a knee that may or may not have touched down. So you tell me, is this about who punches harder, or who can finally silence the doubt? The build-up is different this time. You feel it in the air. Every press conference glare, every training clip on Instagram, it's all dialed up. Controlled aggression, polished trash talk. But behind it all, there's real heat. Because this isn't just hype. Tank and Roach know each other too well for that. They've shared rings since the amateur days. They've sparred, scouted, grown, and now they're about to settle a score that's been simmering for years. But here's what's changed. Roach isn't walking into this rematch wide-eyed. The surprise factor is gone. He knows what Tank brings. The timing, the twitchy reflexes, the body shots that make grown men crumble. But he's tasted it, survived it, and now he believes he can crack it. Tank, on the other hand, is carrying something heavier, expectation. He was supposed to finish Roach clean the first time. A draw wasn't part of the script. And in boxing, perception matters almost as much as the scorecard. If Roach pushes him to the brink again, or worse, wins, it doesn't just bruise Tank's record, it reshapes his legacy. And let's not forget what's at stake beyond the ring. The DMV isn't split, it's on fire. Two sons of the same soil, two stories rising from the same streets. But only one walks out of Vegas with their reputation intact. So as fight night approaches, you ask yourself, is this just a rematch or the unraveling of a myth? You can feel the countdown closing in. Headlines multiply. Trainers keep their fighters locked away, and footage leaks just enough to stir up arguments across living rooms and barbershops. Vegas is ready. But are you? Because this isn't just another bout between two contenders. This is something more primal. Two men, molded by the same streets, now forced to prove who evolved and who stayed stuck. Tank Davis comes with pressure. He's the name, the ticket seller, the one carrying the weight of an undefeated image. But that image cracked the night Lamont Roach touched gloves with him and refused to fold. Roach knows the script this time. No surprises. He's studied that tape 100 times, paused and rewound every second Tank showed weakness, the hesitation, the infamous knee, the body language that whispered something no boxer ever wants exposed, vulnerability. But is that enough? You wonder if Roach has one more level in him, or if Davis has been sharpening the blade this whole time, waiting for the right moment to swing. Because if he loses here, if he falls short again, the aura changes. The fear factor fades, and boxing fans, cruel as they are, move on quickly. In the ring, it's going to come down to seconds. One misread, one counter too slow, one body shot too clean, and you'll witness either redemption or collapse, with millions watching. So the real question is, on August 16th, does history repeat itself or rewrite itself?